The City Council of City of Prairie View workshop for charter amendments and procedures, Monday, August 26, 2019, at 5:20 is now called to order. Ms. Bynum, would you certify the quorum, please?
Councilmember Rowland.
Present.
Councilmember Randall. Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Wallace.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll now have the invocation. Ms. Reed, would you do us the pleasure of a short prayer? Bless me. And then we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
Gracious Father, we come before you this evening with our heads bowed and humble hearts. Just say thank you. Thank you for being our Father and our God. Help us to be united as one. Let your Holy Spirit fall down on each of us gathered here, dear Lord, and give us your mercy and your grace. Open our ears so we can hear what it is that you want us to hear, our eyes to see, and give us knowledge so that we can, Lord, accomplish what we came here to do. Forgive us of all our sins, our faults, our failures, and our mistakes. Deliver us from all unrighteousness, Father. Help us to accomplish our goals. And let everything we say, everything we do, and everything we think give honor and praise and glory to your holy name. I ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. In the pledge of allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our regular agenda item, the workshop for charter amendments and procedures. Counselor, if you can share with us, or what's council's pleasure? I'd spoken with Attorney Zach, City Attorney Zach, regarding sharing the procedures. Was there anything else council wanted to say or do before that? Yeah, whenever you're ready, Attorney Zach.
Well, as far as procedures are concerned, it's a fairly straightforward process. City Council can decide what amendments they'd like to propose to be placed on a ballot. They would vote on whether or not those amendments should go on a ballot. And once that is accomplished, we would put together first they decide what measures and propositions they want, then they can vote for what they want to go on. And then it's a special election to be held either in November or May, depending on how quickly the process goes. That's the legal process. Once the election is called, there are some procedures in the Texas Local Government Code that have to be followed with respect to notification. Certain notices have to be placed in the paper with respect to the charter amendments. The charter amendments have to be in a substantial form put in the paper for the public so that they can see what the amendments would be and vote on. And then if there are any financial implications associated with the amendments, that has to be posted in the notice as well. And that's from a procedure standpoint, that it's a pretty straightforward procedure.
Council.
Are there any particular dates in which, say that if the city chose to amend the charter for election November 5th, I know there's dates and deadlines that we would have to hit, as well as if we used to choose, you said March 1st, right?
Yes, so the election would have to be, I don't have the date memorized in the elections code, but I'm not sure.
90 days before?
It's 70, I believe it's 72
75.
days. Yeah, I can look real quick at the calendar. My computer's booting up here, but it's whatever the deadline is to order an election, the election would have to be ordered before then. You wouldn't have to have your actual proposed amendments ready to go yet. You could just order the election and then approve the proposed amendments and propositions at a later date, so long as those were done in time to get your ballots printed and to put notice in the newspaper.
Now, what's the public's right regarding a proposed charter amendment?
To vote on it.
That's it?
Yes.
not to propose.
Well, I mean,
anything.
that's a pretty big deal. I mean.
No, what I'm saying is if they have things that they want to move forward, they have no way, opportunity,
Yeah.
petition to
Well,
get
sure.
things on the ballot?
Oh, okay, I didn't understand that was the question.
Oh, okay.
Yes, anybody can petition the government to place an item for purposes of amending the charter on the ballot. I believe the petition has to be signed by 10% of the registered voters in the city. And if that petition is turned in, then city council would have to place those charter amendment items on the ballot for consideration. Yes, sir.
And I just want to throw this out for clarification purposes. We note that November 5th, we won't be able to have our charter put up on the ballot, so city council thought best, or heard the citizens' complaints, or the citizens got the 10%, and which the attorney was just speaking of, then that will be, we will have subsequent meetings, leading to March.
It would be the May.
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 All right, so May.
So is there anything else regarding charter amendments and procedures as to? Yes, ma'am.
Are there any, is there a limit on the number of amendments that the citizens could propose to put on a ballot?
No, ma'am.
Okay, who determines the wording of what that amendment will say?
City council has the discretion to determine the wording of the ballot proposition. The amendment wording would have to be provided by the citizens.
Okay, so does city council have a right to substantially change the wording?
No.
So that it becomes something different from
No,
what the
ma'am.
citizens want?
No, ma'am.
So,
And I just want to be clear, and I'll get you, Ms. Whitberg, that Councilman Jones, you stated that we're not even thinking about a November thing, is that what?
Yeah, I mean,
Said cancel.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't meet the deadline. Last
we
data.
wouldn't even be able to meet the deadline if there
Okay.
was a November election, if this was something in which the citizens or city council felt should move forward, then it would have to be
The May.
Regular election.
May election. So that would have to be ordered sometime in February, would be the last, probably mid-February would be the last, sometime in mid-February would be the deadline to order an election for a May election.
And we had a hand in the rear. Yes, ma'am.
So based on what she said, that there's no limit, what would happen if there's competing amendments being offered by the citizens?
Well, then it's just the vote, I would imagine. One would get voted up and one would get voted down, or both could get voted down, up or down.
But they would both go on the amendment, I mean, on the, they would both be up for election, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to be, the order an election would be the same as ordering an election that we have in May already.
Correct.
We would do it simultaneously, so it wouldn't be something that would be in addition to. Now, remember, because it's a democracy, the same thing that, all citizens have the right to have a petition, to get the adequate number of signatures, to put things on the, up for a vote. And so I think, that we should all know that, again, this is amendments that would go to the charter to help change how we want to govern, how we would like the city to be governed. So I welcome everybody to start on that process, or you can, again, we've held 2 or 3 meetings already. The sentiments that we got from those meetings were varied because people had different takes and opinions. Should we be discussing it? It don't matter, or wanting to hear their voice depending upon who it was. And all I'm simply saying is, as a part of the democracy, is everybody has a voice. And so, thank you for the people who came out to support, to let your voice be heard. And so the conspiracy was, we were trying to do something, and you could see we want an open and clear process. So thank you all who came out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Who's next? Yeah, Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Swing around to those who haven't spoken
Right.
yet. Yes,
I
sir.
want to be clear and understand what Councilman Rowland just said. He said it's a democracy and everybody has the right to vote. I mean, not vote,
Speak.
a right to speak. And the petition,
To propose amendment changes. Everybody's got the same right to propose changes, if any. I think that's, yes, that's what he said.
everybody has the right to propose changes during that, at that particular time. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Reed?
I have not missed any of the meetings concerning the changes to the charter. I've never heard who wanted to make the change and what the changes are going to be. And we get ready to order to be on the thing to make a change. I don't know what we're trying to make a change to and why. Yes, you can answer me.
Ms. Reed, we're not trying to make any changes. Today, we're just discussing the process on if a change was to come.
Oh, okay.
As we talked about November 5th, that change is not
Okay.
even possible.
Okay.
If, like I said, if the citizens or city council chose to continue this discussion, then that would take place. The amendments wouldn't take place to be
Oh,
voted
okay.
upon
All right.
until March,
Thank you.
May.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Number one, on the citizens or the residents who want to do a petition, how many proposed amendments can go on one petition? Do you have to say, if I want to have 10, do I have to have 10 separate petitions? Or do I have to have 10 listed on one petition with 10%
It
signature?
would just be one petition with all the changes, all the proposed amendments.
Okay, and my other question is, who determines what order on the ballot the proposed amendments would go in?
The city council.
Okay, and another thing I want to bring up, like similar to what Ms. Reed was talking about, there have been, I don't know if having workshops for citizens' input is just a formality to say that you did this, but the workshops that we've had relative to this, citizens have come and expressed their concern, given input, but none of the subsequent, in none of the subsequent meetings has city council adequately addressed our questions. Like Ms. Reed said, we're on ground one. Who wants to have an amendment and why? We've asked that question at every workshop and haven't gotten an answer yet. So, I'm just not clear on the purpose. My question is the purpose of having workshops for citizens or residents' input just a formality to say, well, we had workshops and got citizens' input? Or are we supposed, or is city council really supposed to do something with what we say? Anybody can answer. Who knows?
I'll defer to legal because I was in those meetings and
Well, it's not a legal question. I
It's
mean,
not a
the
legal
law
question.
doesn't, the law doesn't require,
law doesn't require it.
Okay.
Okay. Because what she's referring to is, council was asked directly what aspects or components of the charter did in our experience here, right? That we feel needed to be changed so that we could discuss those specific components and you all would understand why we were having workshops or what in the council's experience they felt needed to be addressed. And those questions weren't answered, so. But there's no requirement to answer them.
So is there a legal requirement to have workshops?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Can I?
Yes.
I will say, as a person who was one of city council members who thought that the community needed to be informed of the process, Some citizens thought we had a preconceived agenda, and they have to accept that they were wrong. Only thing we wanted to do was inform the community. We thought we could have community meetings where we didn't need the attorney to figure out what we wanted our neighbors. Did we want to change it? Did we have to address it? So in the document is what, 4 years old? And we said we were going to address the document 2 years after we voted on it. We didn't do that. We voted on it and we never did come back to it. The only thing this city council wanted to do was put it back before the citizens to say, hey, is it our time for us to look at it or is it not? We made a decision to take the committee as the committee out, so then we could just hear directly. We don't need a middle man. We can hear directly from the citizens on how we want this process to go for our community. That process hasn't changed, as the attorney says. There's no requirement to hold any of those meetings. We just did it because we wanted to get the input of the community. The attorney is now back to communicate to the citizens the procedures on how we move forward, if we don't move forward, or what is needed. So hopefully everybody knows that when they leave here, we haven't called for an election, we hadn't called for election, and we're just, again, working through the process. Now everybody has gotten a copy of the home rule charter who didn't have one over those last 2 meetings. You could be sitting at home marking it up over the next year, 6 months, 2 days. Again, this is for you to have, it's for informational. So again, I just want to thank my colleagues who, again, I know some people thought we had all the answers, and it wasn't just that. It was to give the community an opportunity to speak. And as you know, we're only allowed to speak if we have an official meeting. And so thank you for your vote for saying that you'd be at the meeting so we could at least have the conversations. Thank you.
No, I think because folks have asked me, there's a little bit more to it than that. Because the examples of other city charters that was shared all stated a city manager form of government, which we do not have. So it wasn't changing, quote unquote, or enhancing some things within our existing charter. That is, and council, please correct me here, is that not a totally legal, different form of government? City manager versus mayor council?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that is a major change. It wasn't just to hear if you all had something. And all of the 4 or 5 examples, as I recall reading, all stated city manager. So it wasn't like we had page 5A that we needed to improve on, or something that we needed to add because we used a base model when we first went through it, because I happened to, with Dr. Brown, been the vice chair on the Charter Commission, so I'm very familiar with that. So, again, we just want to make sure we are clear and transparent with you all, because no matter what form of government we have, residents are paying for it, and residents have to live with it. So I just wanted to be clear, it is, as council confirmed, a totally different form of government with the examples that we received. Yes, ma'am.
As I'm responding to the initial meeting that we had, not workshop. Okay, I'm responding to the council meeting. May I recall, one agenda item was the mayor had suggested a committee to look at the charter, which was, and then come back with the results. With that particular agenda item, and with that, that was a good way to get the citizens, the paying citizens, the taxpaying citizens of Prairie View to react to the committee's finding. Now, what I see, this is the 3rd time we have met. on a supposedly workshop. And I am perceiving a charade for an underlying something that the city council wants based on their denouncing what the mayor had on the agenda item. Let's keep in mind, when we change that charter, we're going to look at those persons, and this is what I see, those persons who are trying to make decisions. I see your hand, John. Those persons who are trying to make decisions, number one, are persons who don't live in Prairie View. That's the first thing.
Non-taxpayer.
And the second thing, you are not paying taxes. And the third and most importantly is that you're trying to decide something that you are not a part of. Lest you forget, city council people, you're making trips on taxpayers' money that you are not paying. And as a member, a taxpaying resident of Prairie View, I definitely oppose that. Please don't try to plant a shade tree for me to sit under when you don't have a shovel to dig a hole. I oppose that. I object to that.
Yes.
Is that a question directed to me, Councilman Jones?
No, ma'am, this is a statement. I don't think city council is trying to necessarily change anything because, we knew the date, to have, proposed, change to the charter was before coming here today. So all city council had to do was vote at the previous meeting or ask for it to be on the agenda. And all we had to do was vote. If I had an ulterior motive, I could have sent the mayor an email and said, or sent it out through the city secretary and asked for a special meeting. And then we hold the special meeting and then we vote up that we would like to choose to have, charter amendments. But I chose not to do that, so we're not trying to, I guess, dig you a shade tree for you to sit under. Me
You're not gonna
personally.
do that. I don't want to sound argumentative, but I really want to have a voice,
Yes, ma'am, and we understand that, and I
a
think that's,
taxpaying citizen voice. But, Mayor,
Hold on, let me pick up on what both of you are saying. And this was because, and I'm just sharing this because this was prior to Councilman Jones and Wallace joining us on the council. What the citizens primarily speak of and what Ms. Webster refers to that was on the agenda, the reason I put that on the agenda was because that's exactly how it was done by the previous mayor when we sought to take a look at and ultimately voted to go with the home rule charter. So where they're referring to change, Councilman Jones, is that process was changed and the residents are being taken out of that involvement with amendments to a charter that they were involved in putting together and voting on, and now it is a major change. So I understand the frustration, and I feel that same way because as someone who was selected by a council member to represent the community, as someone who lived here, that's what I thought this council would do or follow because that was the precedent, the process we had used. Now, I guess council has that right to do what they're doing, but as you stated, they just need to be clear on why you and others are frustrated because it is different than 4 or 5 years ago when we were selected to take a look at, review a charter, see what we wanted in the city, similar to when they went into zoning. They asked the people, what do you want? They went to the people. Yes, ma'am.
I had a couple of comments I want to make. There's a difference between the elected officials making decisions about what's best for the community as opposed to residents in the community getting together and informing our elected officials what it is we want. It's a big difference, number one. Number two, and I want to bring this up, Attorney Zach, while you're here, because when you were absent, when we had the workshops, it was said repeatedly by city council members that you said not to involve the citizens. Not that they had an option, because I told them over and over, no, he didn't say that. He said it could be done. But it was said by city council member that you said that the citizens should be involved. And I need for you to clarify what you said tonight for the record. Also, there's a difference between informing citizens
Right.
and getting citizens' input. If you want to inform citizens about what the city charter says, all you have to do is make some copies and put them out there on the table where we pick up the agendas, and we can pick one up and take it home and read it and highlight it and all that. But on each one of those workshops, meetings that we had, there were specific, definite questions asked by citizens. We gave you information about the way we wanted to do the review. City council mandated on us that no, we're gonna go page by page, line by line, and see what we wanna change. And we couldn't understand that because most of the people everybody sitting up in here is highly educated. So we couldn't understand why it was necessary for us to go line by line, page by page. Well, then one of our residents, a well-professional one of our residents, finally got up and said that she had had a conversation with Kendrick Jones and another councilman out front after one of the workshops, and they informed her that the reason that they wanted to change or amend the city charter was because they wanted to take power away from the mayor. They felt like the mayor had too much power. Now, that's what she said. I don't know if he said it or not, but that's what she stood up right there and told everybody in the room that that's what Kendrick Jones told her. Now, another thing that the power,
Hold up, one person at a time.
She
You
didn't state
finish up.
that, but, okay.
I have it on record if you
Okay,
want to see it.
Please put it back
Oh,
up.
I have it on video
Because
if
she
you want to
stated
see
three
it.
different councilmen.
Well, they're
I
not
raised
here,
my
so
hand.
you here,
No,
and she
yes,
called your
And
name.
I know the other council member is here. When I raised my hand and said something back, because, City Councilman Williams, grabbed my arm as I was answering her and say that the conversation that me and her had didn't have anything to do with the charter. She stated that another council member said that. Also,
Okay, let me
to
finish
address-
saying what I'm
to
saying,
address
and
the
then you can
attorney, we
respond,
did not
Councilman
say that
Jones,
the
because I
attorney-
wasn't finished and you cut me off.
We did not say that the attorney,
Finish, I'll let you finish.
that the attorney told us not to have any people.
It's on
a part of-
YouTube.
A part of the charter committee. So let's please just state facts. Today's meeting, we were brought here so that way the attorney could discuss and tell us this process. We're not having a charter amendment November 5th. We're gonna continue to have talks and dialogues to have this conversation, whether or not the citizens want or whether or not the city councilman of the city of Prairie View will push this forward.
May I finish saying what I was saying before you so rudely interrupted me?
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead and finish up.
Okay, also, more so after the residents stated that Councilman Kendrick Jones and other councilmen said that the reason they were so interested in amending our city charter was because the mayor had too much power. I looked at the first workshop. It was handed out some sample city charters. And each one of those sample city charters had on it a city manager form of government. When I looked through it and started reading it, because I like to read, what I discovered was in those examples that were given, the city manager form of government that you all were using as an example gave all the power to the city manager, where the city council hired and was responsible for firing a city manager. The only role the mayor would have was like in ceremonial events, cutting ribbons and stuff like that. So that confirmed
Could you ask
what
the
the
mayor if I
resident, let me
submitted
finish
one
talking, you're being rude once again to me.
Could you ask the
You're
mayor if I
being
sent
rude
one?
to me.
Could you ask the
You're
mayor if I
being
sent
rude to me. You need to respect me when I'm talking like you respect everybody else.
Hold on, one at a time.
Could
Let
you
her
ask
fin-
the mayor if
No,
I
no,
sent
let
you
her
that?
finish, council, let her finish.
I just want her to
No,
ask you
no,
if
let her
I sent
finish.
you one of
Let her
those
finish.
amendments.
She let you cut in, let her finish. We have to have order in our meetings. Finish, Ms. Parker.
As I was saying, when I looked at the examples that were given with the city manager form of government and looked at the roles of the city manager and the examples that were given, the city manager had all of the roles that our current charter affords the mayor. The mayor didn't have any role other than cutting ribbons and kissing babies. So that confirms what the residents said, that you and two other councilmen told her about the reason for change or wanting to amend the city council, because you felt the mayor had too much power.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there someone, yes, Ms. Carter?
This is my first meeting. What am I here for? What kind of meeting is this supposed to be?
Thank you.
Drama. I mean, I don't have time for, I really don't. I have too many meetings and I really don't have time.
Well,
If it's not for what it's meant to be. Why are we here?
Well, there've been a couple of meetings on the charter, potential charter amendments and things like that. And City Attorney Zach shared with us what the procedure was in doing charter amendments and who could do them and how residents could do a petition, things of that nature. So that's what we've done and really finished that part. And Councilman?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to clarify information. When those two amendments were sent to you or given to you, did one of those come from council member myself?
Two amendments?
No, to the,
Example.
to us, the examples that were submitted and that was brought to the meeting was one of those, brought to the council by myself.
If I recall, all the ones that I recall receiving came from Councilman Rowland.
That's just for clarification purposes. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the meeting be adjourned. All those in favor say aye. Meeting's adjourned.